So Eddie here is the mastermind behind a game called Pugmire. Pugmire?
Actually, I don't know if you can really read that because of the shine.
No, I can see it. It's right there. Whoops.
Well, there's a binder that says, "Be a good dog."
Be a good dog.
I can read backwards.
So let's get right into it. Eddie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. I've been a designer and writer professionally for 14 years now. Which therefore means I'm an overnight success.
14 years.
Yeah, 14 years.
Good job, dog.
But no, I started. My first professional gig was working on a tabletop role-playing game called Cartoon Action Hour, which was a game that used to emulate 80s action TV cartoons like G.I. Joe and Transformers. And that actually got some attention, a couple of award nominations, and so I was like, oh, this writing for paint thing might be good. So I worked freelance for a few years. I worked on things like Know Your Role for the WWE role-playing game. I worked on Red Dwarf. But I'd always been, since the 90s, a big fan of White Wolf. And so I ended up, a friend of mine who worked at the company mentioned that they were looking for someone to work on a live action product. And I've been really big into live action for many years. So some conversations happened, and I ended up working on the Mind's Eye Theater Mage the Awakening book for live action. That took me about a year, kind of just slowly hammering at it. But they were really happy with the results of that. So when White Wolf merged with a video game company, CCP, they did some hiring, and I was brought in to be what they were calling the alternative publishing developer, working on PDFs, print on demand, and just finding ways to modernize the publishing of tabletop role-playing games. So I worked there. I ended up transferring to the late lamented World Arts MMO,
which I, of course, almost got hired for twice.
A lot of people almost got hired for it, and a lot of people were no longer working for it. But I worked on that for several years. But I was also still working on tabletop stuff. I was helping with the White Wolf publishing side of things, so I ended up being the kind of Uber developer for a lot of products. I was doing my own podcast at the time, a White Wolf blogcast. And then I got the chance to work on Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition. And that was just a huge book. That was 4 months of my life, just really focused on getting that put out there. And it was really satisfying. And then more people were like, hey, this is something we want to get involved with and see more of. So we got involved. Well, we tried the V20 Companion on Kickstarter, which was relatively new at the time. This was 2011. So it's like, we saw some moderate success for interacting with the community in that respect. And so ever since then, I had been really interested in doing more stuff with Kickstarter, and Onyx Path has since done, this is their 20th Kickstarter, so they've done a lot of them, they learned a lot. When I was laid off 2014, yes, it's 14, I looked for work for a couple of months, did not go as well as I hoped, so I said, well, I'll just work for myself. So I formed Pugsteady, which is my own company, and also became full-time freelancing contractors. So since then, I've had a chance to work with great companies like Wooga. I worked with them on the Futurama video games coming out. I worked with an interactive novel, which you guys actually reviewed.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Rage War, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was a choice of games. And also, doing a lot of work with Onyx Path as a freelancer. I've worked with a number of other tabletop RPG companies. But one of the things I wanted to do was to start working on my own intellectual properties. I mean, it's completely mine, that I could partner with great people on. Because I love playing with those sandboxes, but there's a different kind of freedom you get from working on your own. So that leads us here.
Cool. Real quick, were you a fan of the TV show that was based on
Kindred the Embrace?
Yeah.
I actually have a DVD set.
my buddy, when I worked at where I used to work, he actually had the entire VHS set.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of VHS.
And he's like, dude, you need to watch it. I'm like, but I don't have a VCR. He goes, but you need to find a VCR. This is awesome.
It converts DVD, man.
Yeah.
It's really cool kids too.
It was. Well, I mean, the thing is that with Kindred the Embraced, I've always posited that if it had been done 10 years ago or 5 years ago, it would have been like the most amazing thing. I mean, it really would have been True Blood, but it was just a little too early. It was on or on public television, was cable television,
Right.
and I think it just a little too early, the wrong network. It just didn't quite find its thing. But I mean, I've always thought it had potential, and there are purists who strongly disagree with the vision of it, and I can certainly understand why. But there's also a lot of, if you look past some of the ways they approach it, there's actually some interesting stuff in there. It's a pretty decent job.
I have a question about, you mentioned history. One thing you mentioned was Vampire the Masquerade.
Mhm.
Is also a fantastic video game.
Yes.
Does what you were working on actually have to do with the video game, or what was kind of the relationship between the two?
So the previous video games, the ones that got released like Bloodlines and Redemption, those were before my time.
Okay.
And the relationship, as I understood it, was that those were basically licensed out. So a video studio would license it from White Wolf and work on it. That said, there was an interesting relationship because when we were working on other products, it was like, how much of that can we reference?
Right.
And so it's this kind of weird, because of the nature of licensing, all the stuff that we put into our books we could obviously use.
Right.
And some stuff that made it in Bloodlines was then later put into Vampire the Masquerade books, so then we could use. But there's still category material that actually was owned by Activision because of the nature of how licensing works. And so it became this interesting little, like, well, how much that can we nod to and allude to. And ultimately, now I understand with Paradox acquiring it all, it's all kind of in their hands, so that it's a lot clearer. But at the time, there was this interesting kind of hydra of licensing relationships, akin to, like, say, the Shadowrun license, which is its own, like, kind of weird, incestuous or Ouroboros of licensing.
Yep.